a lot of people assume that we cannot do tasks like everyday tasks, like tie our shoes, carry dishes to the sink, or driving, or cooking, or just like, or yeah, normal everyday stuff, zipping up our jackets, which I always say we may not do it the same as you guys do it, but we do it just as fine as so, and we adapt our like life to how we do it, and we can develop our own unique techniques and everything.
Were you too young to know you were a girl or a boy?
Oh, I hated the skin that I was in. I thought I was ugly. I thought I was unlovable. I couldn't leave my house without people staring at me or making rude remarks.
There is a sense, I think, or a message that many of us have received that it's okay to be a Jew as long as you're the right kind of Jew.
Just imagine what it would be like for you when you get out of prison after, 10 years in there for something you didn't do.
Approximately 6 or 7 policemen attacked me and put in my pocket a big quantity of drugs.
If we can choose how we live well, then do we not have the right to choose how we die well? And how do we do that with dignity?
There's never a moment where I am not in pain. It's exhausting. This bottom line is what it is.
So I was born with a congenital limb difference. My arm, I have my elbow, but it was like underdeveloped from here and out.
54% of those with disabilities are not working. If you're an employer, hire somebody with a disability. You won't regret it.
I've learned that us neurotypical people are the people who really need to learn from neurodiverse individuals. We are the aliens of this planet.
Welcome to Purposeful Empathy, a show that is dedicated to amplifying the voices of people from across the globe who understand the world needs more empathy and are doing something about it. This season will inspire you to empathize with people who are regularly marginalized and misunderstood. You won't want to miss a single episode, so hit the subscribe button now. Thanks for watching and enjoy the show. Hi there. Today on Purposeful Empathy, I'm joined by Ida-Louise Øverland, a Paralympic track athlete from Norway whose story challenges old stereotypes about ability. Born with a congenital limb difference, Ida was often underestimated. But today, she competes on the world stage, mentors para-athletes coming up the ranks, and trailblazes down catwalks as a model, defying social norms about beauty. In this conversation, we talk about how to transform insecurity into confidence, why using the term limb difference as opposed to limb deficiency is a powerful reframe. We also talk about how well-meaning people can sometimes say or do things that actually undermine dignity and agency. And we talk about what real empathy looks like. Not pity, but respect, curiosity, and seeing the person beyond a prosthetic or a physical difference. Look, if you want to be blown away by one young woman's positive attitude and mental toughness, or if you want to contribute to a more inclusive world, this show is for you.
Welcome to the show, Ida.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
It's exciting, and I love the tree, so we can see that it's December that we're taking this. This is only going to come out in sort of maybe February or March of 2026. We'll just remember the holiday season. Is it snowing in Norway right now?
No, it's not. That's crazy. Or in my hometown, it's so much snow. But right now, I'm in Oslo, so much rain. And it's so disappointing. But I'm hoping for some snow very soon.
Okay, well, here in Montreal, we already have maybe, I don't know, I'd say 20, 25 centimeters on the ground. And we've already had days of -20. So it's been an early start to winter, and we're all grumbling about it. Anyway.
Wow. But in the northern parts, it's a lot of snow. And so when I go home for Christmas, it snows, hopefully.
Sweet. So I guess that's where you'll be going next week or the week after. So
yeah,
Ida, could you tell us mean, a very impressive bio, and I'm very excited to talk about the work that you do in the Paralympic community. But what do you think you might want to let the world know about you, besides the impressive bio?
Um, no one thing is that my life is actually in a way boring. Like, yeah, when you say it like that, it's like, oh no, why? But my life is very standardized. I wake up, do school like everyone else, like students in the world, and then I go to training, and then I go home and eat dinner and go to bed. And that's like my daily life. So it isn't like really exciting, even though I get to experience so much stuff and I have these opportunities, but like my everyday life, like it's pretty normal in a way. Um, which is maybe not everyone thinks of my life like that. I think, oh, you do so much, but no, or I sometimes, but it's my everyday life. It's kind of boring sometimes.
Well, maybe you're being a little bit humble. I wonder. Any athlete, I think, probably spends hours and hours a week training in your sport,
Yeah,
and of course, all the volunteer and mentorship work you do. So great. Okay, so you live a
yeah.
boring life. All right, great. I believe it, but okay.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, to get straight into things. I did a little bit of research, and I understand that according to the World Health Organization, there's about 1 in 2,000 to 1 to 3,000 babies born with a limb deficiency. Okay, I'd love to
Yeah.
just know what it was like to grow up without your right arm and how that shaped your sense of self.
I view myself as quite lucky in the way I grew up. I never really, well, in my early years, I never really felt different in a way. I had my friends, they never said anything, or they didn't like recognize it in a way that made me feel different. Uh, but however, when you get older, it's sort of switched. You get people more recognizing that you have a difference or you have a disability in a way, and you as well also notice how people are looking at you, like stares and like looks that you may not have realized when you were younger. So I, but it, I like, but I was lucky in a way. I was never bullied. I had my friends and they really saw me for who I was, not what I like, how different I was. Um, but you get a different view of things when you grow up with a disability, and you shape the way how you view the world and how you view people. Um, yeah, so my how I grew up, it's good, but you always had this feeling that you were different in a way, even though you weren't bullied, or personally I wasn't. But there's this feeling that you grew up with, which always is in the back of your head during just everyday stuff, going to the shop, going to training. Yeah.
So, did people ask you a lot of questions about your arm, or besides the staring, which might have been very uncomfortable sometimes, and some people might have been very friendly about it? I mean, what was your interactions with people? Did you find them mostly on the generous side, or mostly did you find yourself up against sort of judgment or?
Yeah, so what I have personally experienced is very different between an adult and a kid in this way. When you see a kid will often ask questions like, oh, what happened? And they're very much intrigued and they're not scared of asking any questions. And but however, when an adult often comes up to me, they are more afraid of asking. So they would rather just stare than just ask, oh, what happened? And it can be sometimes I love how people ask questions, because I would rather much them ask me, oh, what happened, rather than just step on eggshells around me. But there's sometimes I I personally felt like I had to answer the same question over and over and over again, which can be like some annoying, if that's correct word to use in this situation. So like, but generally, like, all the kids always ask so much more questions than the adults, because they are much more brave than the adults, I often realize. But the kids always just, when I ask, oh, I was born with it, I answer, I was born with it, and they will say, oh, but why? And I was like, oh, I don't know. So I have different experiences with, especially with age, when it comes to the questions and answering all the questions.
So I want to put on my childlike curiosity hat and just ask you to
Yeah.
share a little bit about your arm, so that we at least have a baseline of knowledge before we move into the other stuff.
Yeah, I have my electric prosthetics on today, because I thought I was like suiting to show like how it
Sexy,
can look.
very, very cool.
Yeah.
Bionic woman. All right.
Yeah, so I have different prosthetics. Like you said, I was born with a congenital limb difference. My arm, I have my elbow, but it was like underdeveloped from here and out. So I have been wearing prosthetics since I was 11, 12. So until then, I never wore prosthetics. I never were insecure. I never thought about it. But then you get older, and I got more insecure about my arm, and I didn't like the stairs that much. So I chose personally to wear prosthetics. Today, I use both on and off. But it's a long way for me from when I started wearing prosthetics to where I am today. At the beginning, I never wanted to take it off. I never wanted to ever show myself without it. Yeah, but that's my arm, at least, and that's how it is.
And I'm glad you just educated me on something important, because when I was doing the research, the terminology is still like in the olden days. Like they refer to it as congenital limb deficiency, but I heard you just say congenital limb difference, which is so much more empowering. And I'm so glad that you corrected me. So from now on, I'm going to use that. I think that's a very important takeaway.
Yeah, or I personally, I don't get offended if anyone uses, because they might not realize the word or anything. But I try to use different words, but I would never judge anyone or anything for saying deficiency or anything.
And do you know if you're naturally left-handed or right-handed?
Oh, great question. I don't know. That's the answer. I'm left-handed now because of obvious reasons. But however, I played soccer for 10 years, and my right foot is like my best foot. So I don't know if that's a correlation or just by luck, or don't know, but I'm left-handed today.
Super interesting. And do you feel that the world of prosthetics has improved over your lifetime? Have you seen innovations?
Absolutely. When I start this arm, especially, it only, for me at least, got on the market like a couple of years ago, like 3, 4 years ago. It was like developing before, but at least for me, it wasn't on the market then. So I have been just using some arms that looks like a real arm, but they are very static fingers. But now I have like a lot of different prosthetics. I have training prosthetics, I have running prosthetics, I have everyday prosthetics. I have like when I'm going out, when I'm going dressed up, I have prosthetics that are painted like by a French painter and everything, which is crazy.
Wow. Matching with
Yeah,
the
so
purse.
yeah, I can. And I also know that people have prosthetics that when they lost their arm or a leg or in an accident, they had a tattoo. They can paint a tattoo on the prosthetic so they can get the tattoo back and everything.
That's so interesting. Are you able to use
Yeah.
your fingers?
Yeah, in this arm, I can move. I have sensors that is placed on the inside, so I can move my arm up. Now it's have to reload because I just put it on, but I can move,
And you do
and then I
that
can hold
based
it
on the
again.
sensors. Like, how do but it's not through your mind that you're saying, I'm gonna.
No. Uh, so what I do, I have electronic sensors here and here that I have some muscle movement like here, so I isolate a single muscle and I like flex it in a way.
Yeah.
And then I just have different sensors placed and I isolate the exact muscle that's connected to that sensor.
That's
So
wild.
it's
That's wild.
it's crazy technology, but it's amazing that we have gotten this far and all these opportunities for people, especially like I have one of my arms, but I know that it's a great for people who maybe have lost both of their arms and needs a gripping opportunity first. But for me, it's been great to have like this arm to help me in my everyday.
Yeah, and I know that even in scientific breakthroughs around genetics or bio, I don't know the science, but they're like able to regrow certain things. So are you paying attention to the research where there's a possibility that your hand or arm can grow, or is that way off in the science fiction?
Uh, I haven't personally looked into that research that much. I I'm pretty content in the idea that I will be like this for the rest of my life, and I'm very happy today. I've realized like maybe having one arm less has been like the greatest thing happening to me actually.
Tell me
Uh,
more about that. Why?
yeah, because I would say like I'm a lucky person that has one arm rather than having two arms. Um, so I have been able to experience so many different things around the world. And like I could never know for sure that I wouldn't experience if I had two arms, but I know for sure that I did it because of the one arm thing. So, for example, like I do, as you introduced, I'm a para athlete. I competed in Paralympic Games. So I have traveled the world. I've been to Japan and all over India and Dubai and all over, and I've seen so much that I would probably not have seen. Um, I have been able, like also you said, I was able to work in the Paris Fashion Week, which was an incredible experience. Uh, and representing, showing different bodies in a fashion show. It's such an exhilarating feeling and experience. Yeah, and I got to I moved to the capital of Norway, Oslo, when I was 16. I was turning 17 that year to go to this sports high school where they specialize in and prioritize the sports parts. And then I like lived in Oslo and I got all these experiences here. So in a way, so I would think like if I didn't get born with the difference I had, I would never been able to do all of these things that I have done in my life, and my life would be completely different. I wouldn't sit in here in this apartment. I would probably live somewhere in the north, which would probably be great as well. But I have so many things that I would never give up. So if I could choose tomorrow to wake up with one arm, but I have to give up all the things that it gave me, I would never do it. I would keep I would never get a new arm. I would keep myself as it is and continue my life as it is.
Well, I think we're debunking some myths. Okay, so I want to ask the question, what do you think some of the common misconceptions about people living with limb differences have, and what do you wish that more people understood about living with a limb difference is? You're selling it as a really great thing.
Yeah, for me, it has been great. That's the thing. So it's important to tell that it's not the same for everyone. So a lot of people will have different experience with having a limb difference, and I was born with it as well. So I haven't had any experience living with two arms. So that's why I haven't lost it in a way. So I never had it. So that's why my experience is the way it is. But it's important to remember that this does not it's not the same for everyone, and they don't have the same experience. But like a lot of common misconceptions that I have experienced is that a lot of people assume that we cannot do tasks like everyday tasks, like tie our shoes, carry dishes to the sink, or driving or cooking, or just like, or yeah, normal everyday stuff, zipping up our jackets, which I always say, we may not do it the same as you guys do it, but we do it just as it's fine as so, and we adapt our like life to how we do it, and we can develop our own unique techniques and everything. So that's one misconception that I often face. And I always, not always, but I often see that people try to help me in a way, which is like, I think they come from a great place. They just wanted to see that I'm maybe struggling or using a bit more time with a task, and they just go in and do it for me, which is, I think they have good reason. They want just to be helpful and kind to me. But for me, it's more of a, what's the word? It's more of a saying, "Oh, you can't do it." So one thing I wish also people could be more think about more when they meet people with a limb difference is ask before they do it. Like if I'm tying my shoes and taking some time with tying it, because it may take a couple of more seconds than a regular person doing it. I don't want people just tying my shoes for me without asking me, because that feels more of a intrusion. And then it's assumption that I just can't do it. So I would rather people just ask, do you need help? Most of the time I would say no, because I like doing things on my own. I'm quite stubborn in a way. So that's one of like the things that I wish people would think about when they meet people with. Yeah.
I love that. That's good messaging and a good takeaway for all of us listening or watching. I wonder if there's anybody on your path, on or off the field, that has had a significant impact on how you perceive yourself or your journey. You have full of agency. You're glowing whenever you talk about, all the opportunities you've had. You seem to be in a really good mental health space. You're doing great, important work. So have there been any people or moments that have been particularly helpful to get you where you are, in terms of like your mindset or your mental health?
There's a few instances or examples I can think of. The first is probably meeting or getting the arena of para athletes. I'm meeting so many people who has like, you see how they live their life, and it's really like they have really great energy, and they really love their life as well, and they don't let their own disability affect them in any way. So that's one of my great that's one of the reasons why I'm so like settled with who I am. But there's like a few moments that I really appreciate where I am today, and I really realized how important it is to talk about differences and different disabilities. So I work as recruitment within the para community with different disabilities. I work and with all ages, and they can or we have this is a weekend where you can meet sorry about I don't remember the word.
Networking?
Yeah, no, it's more of a gathering. It's a weekend gathering, like a para gathering weekend where people who aren't within the sports can come and try para athletes.
Okay.
So this weekend, I was one of the people who was there to meet them and take them in and show them how para athletes works or para athletic works, and show them opportunities that they can have. So, and then I met this, he was a young boy. He was young to be a para athlete right now, but in the future he could possibly, his mother wanted to join now to see what the future could possibly in it for him. And you could really see how shy he was, and how he was really insecure in a way. But during this weekend, you could see that by him being with us and seeing opportunities and seeing that he's not alone, you could truly see how he opened up and really like grew out of his comfort zone. And you could see like how he wasn't like this shy and stick to himself. He was more open and he talked to me a lot. And this exact moment really showed me the importance of showing people that they are not alone, and showing people that even though you have a disability, it's not who you are. It may be a part of you, but it's not defining you in a way. And this is one of the experience when I think about that weekend, I really think about like a young boy who opened up, and just by having this community where he could and he felt safe to open up really shows the importance of. And then I personally felt like, oh, this is so important, and I want for everyone to experience a safe zone where they don't have to feel shy or embarrassed of their disability.
Yeah, a real sense of belonging and inclusion. I love that. And I think that's the goal of Paralympics, right? So my research shows that the Paralympic Games began after World War II in 1960, initially as a way of helping injured soldiers and civilians through sport. But then you spoke about the most recent Olympics, right? The Paris 2024 Olympics had 4,400 athletes from 170 countries competing in 20. And that's quite phenomenal. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about your own journey into Paralympic sports and what motivated you to compete at that level.
Yeah. So I started competing in track and field when I was around 12, 11, 12. Yeah, around that age. I have done a lot of sports growing up before this. I was a footballer and I did ballet and I did swimming and I did a lot of different things, but I really fell in love with track and field. So in the beginning, I actually just was with able-bodied, where I compete with people with no disability, because I wasn't aware of any para thing. This wasn't something that I knew about. So few years, I just competed with able-bodied, and I didn't think there were any other opportunities for me, or I didn't know about them at then. So that's all I knew. So I was competing with them, and I loved the sport. But then I never remember exactly how I was introduced to the para world, but I think my mother had some emails with she got or somebody emailed her about this opportunity or this power world, and then we were invited to this weekend here in Oslo to meet, like the same I was a part of this a year ago or something. I was able to go to that as well when I was younger. And then I met a lot of people with disabilities or different, like amputees, or yeah, different, like everybody. And I really understood that this is a whole new world for me. And this guy, or our boss, right? Or boss, he's para team leader, Runar is his name. He told us that the time I was running currently in able body categories was actually good enough to qualify for the world championships within the para world. And I was like, whoa, are you serious? Like crazy? No. Why has nobody told me about this before? And so he said, yeah, absolutely. So then I had to go through classifications. So I went to Dubai, where I had to do a qualification. This is where you meet with doctors and physiotherapists, some people with understanding of the world, and they review your disability or how you were born with it, to what degree, and then you get placed in a category. So I was placed in what's T47, which is with arm differences. So that was my like first introduction. How old were I? I was 15 or 15, or I was turning 15 that year, and I went to Dubai and I got classified. And that same year, a couple months later, I ran a new PB and I got qualified for the World Championships that same year. So I was able to go when I was 15, which is so crazy. And the whole year, from I first got introduced until I qualified, I really understood that this is something that I could do. This is something like I want to do. This is something that would be an amazing opportunity for me. And I really wanted to explore all of these opportunities that I had. So then that year, I actually decided like, okay, I want to do this. I want to go like pro. I want to really, really get into sports. I had always been really passionate about sports. But it's when you run with able bodies, I never like said, oh, this is unfair, or I never did any of that, but you always had this feeling like, oh, it's harder for me to be as equally good as it is for them, or it's easier for them to get better because there's differences when you were running, or especially in the 100 meters, we using a starting block where you had to have two hands down to the track, and you have to hold yourself up, which is harder for me to do. And I also have to run with this arm, which is heavier than what people might think. So I had this like, oh, feeling, but then I had para. So, and then I got this, that feeling went away. And I feel like, oh, now everyone has the same opportunity, or same, when we start, we had the same premises as, if that's the correct word, premises? No? Yeah.
Absolutely. You're starting from the same place. Yeah.
Yeah, we're starting from the same place. So for that year, I really got into track and fields. So I decided to move to Oslo. Like the next year, I was in this like finding out my role in life almost. I was finding out what I wanted to do with my life. I knew that this door opened for me, and I had this whole new world that I could be a part of if I wanted to. So the next year, I spent training and trying to see if this is something that I really wanted to do. And I really I found out this is something for me. I love it. I love all the people that I got to meet and everyone. So I decided that the next year I would move to Oslo to really commit to this life. And I started this high school that specializes in sports. And from there on, I have never looked back. I train every day for my same goal is to be one of the best para runners in the world. And it made me to where I am today.
Oh, love it. Well, I wish that for you to become a medalist and to stand in pole position. I love that idea. So when's your next big match that's coming up that we can all sort of hope for you?
Well, we were supposed to have the European Championships next year, but unfortunately, that has been cancelled. And I'm quite disappointed in that decision. I don't know. We haven't gotten a official statement on why it's. I heard some rumors about here and there, but there's nothing official out. And I personally felt quite disappointed in that way that it's just cancelled. But I have to look forward. I have to try to not be too hang up on that fact, even though it's not good. I, as an athlete, train every day to be able to perform at certain championships. But today, so hopefully then the next will be the World Championships in 2027. Yeah, 2027 World Championships, hopefully.
All right, all right. So since
Yeah.
entering the para sports world, you've met many people with very different and challenging backstories. And I wonder how the experience of meeting other people with other limb differences or other physical differences has changed you. So this is more of a philosophical question, I guess. Like you're an adult now, you're in your early 20s. So you're at a stage of life where you recognize that there's a whole array of Paralympic athletes that are competing with a bunch of different differences, right? So how has that changed you as a person and maybe even as an athlete and how you approach life?
Yeah, it has absolutely changed me in multiple ways. One of the things that that I think of most is how I personally view people with from every different or every background. And because when I went into para world, I was 15 and everything, and I was like a young teenager who didn't know much about life, didn't had any like world experience, and I was maybe like this naive teenager thinking more egotistically, if that's yeah, like thinking more about myself than other. I hope that I was a kind teenager, but you think you don't have this open-mindedness in a way. So then I went into para world or para athletics, and you meet all these different people. You meet so many people with so many different backgrounds, and a lot of backgrounds are quite hard, and you realize that not everybody has had the same like childhood or the easy child, if you can say it, easy child here. Some people have hard stories and a hard life, and you really understand that not everyone is different, and you really have to look everyone with an open mind, and you really have to look beyond like are missing. You really get this understanding that it's important how important it is to meet everyone with an open mind, and you also the thing that you cannot take your life for granted as well, and the opportunities, because when you meet someone with a very hard story, you really are grateful for what you yourself have and how your life is. And that is one of my key takeaways, that always try to be grateful and also try to be open-minded and never judge a person by the cover. You really try to understand, and there's so much more behind a person than just the first look, which when some people meet a person in a wheelchair, they just see the wheelchair. They never see the person behind it. So that is one of my always takeaways, or key takeaways. And also, it has changed me in a way that I feel so much more comfortable with myself and showing my disability to everyone, and not being afraid to talk about it or show it on social media. Because when I said I started wearing prosthetics 10, 11, that age, I don't quite remember the exact age, but around that age, and I was really insecure. From growing up with not wearing prosthetics, not thinking about it, and then that day I suddenly started to really noticing that I was different, wearing and getting super insecure. And then you meet all these people who aren't insecure. You get this safe space, and I really did grow into myself, and where I thought of myself as more confident within my disabilities, I see that I'm not alone. That's one of the main things, that you are not alone. That's I try to tell everyone that I meet with either way disability, you are not alone. There's so many people not maybe 100% exact like you, because everyone is unique in their own way, but has a difference. And it really showed me that I'm not alone. And I look at all of these strong athletes that are super confident, and they show their disability, and they really has embraced the disability, not as they live around it, but as themselves, not and that made me grow so much more confident in myself. So today I always try to show my training prosthetics on the Instagram, or I don't necessarily post photos where I stand in a way that my arm's not showing. I always try to post the photos that where my prosthetics or my arm or anything is showing, so that everyone if you Google anything or try to look at social media, you could see people on the platforms that maybe also oh, she's like me, or oh, she has also disability and she shows it off, and then why can't I? And try to use my platform as that.
I think, one of the big takeaways that I'm hearing through our conversation is the sense of strong belonging and community, and that through seeing difference, you kind of find common ground and you find your place, and realize that, if we look past what could be seen as a deficiency or a disability, but is really a difference, like we all have differences, but some are more visible, then there's a strong sense of belonging in that. So I have a couple of last questions for you. What do you think, in your opinion, what would a truly inclusive society look like for people with disabilities, like visible differences?
Well, yeah. That I hope that there will be if I could dream of a world that everyone truly look beyond how a person looks on the outside, like, and really try to understand how everyone is in the inside, and where, especially like in the work environment. I know that for some it's harder to get jobs when you have a visible disability, or just a disability in general. And I hope that like people who hire people with disabilities can not look at like, oh, you cannot do that, then you cannot get a job. But however, look in a way that you see, oh, you can do that, then you will do that. And try to not only see what we can do, because a lot of people will assume, as I said earlier, that there's this stuff we can't do. And I would love to see a world where nobody thought like, oh, you can't do that, oh, you can't do that. Then a world where everyone just saw opportunities for everyone and try to look beyond what's physically on the outside and try to look at actually the person and all the value a person holds. Because everyone holds so much value, and always try to look at the value and not the physical appearance.
I agree. And so what role, since this is a podcast devoted to empathy, what role do you think empathy plays in that world that you envision?
I think empathy is a very important part of that world. In a way that, and you think that if everyone had great like empathy for everyone, I think the world would be a much better place. Personally, I think that people would look at other ones like with not judgment, or they would pre-decide what you can and cannot do. So with empathy, I think it's so important that everyone really thinks about themselves in a way. Do I view the world this way, or do I have this prejudgment of people in a way?
So the last question I ask, and Ida, thank you for spending this hour with me, sharing your experiences and your insights. It's the same question I ask of all of my guests, and that is, if you can think of a specific moment in your life when you were on the receiving end of empathy, what that meant for you.
Yeah, so I have this experience that wasn't that long ago, actually. It's quite recent, earlier this year, where I had this conversation with my team leader, who's I mentioned previously, who introduced me to this world. We talked about, or it was more of a conversation we both received an empathy. But when we was like, are you like, how do you perceive yourself? Are you happy with the way you are? And we really discussed the way I have been insecure about showing my arm and everything concerning it. And he really said to me, he said to me, I would never personally judge you if you did or did not wear your prosthetics. And he really showed me so I try to every day get more confident and get more bolder, even though I feel like but I can always be more. And there's always this back thought in my head that wants to like hide myself, because I know that there are people outside in the world that will view me differently and judge me in a way. So that thought is always there in my back of my head, but I always try to work against it. But his words really we talked about like how we view the world, and he showed me like he just basically told me like, okay, so what people think, it doesn't determine who you are. It doesn't say that you are, when they say that, you aren't that person. And he really talked to me, and like we had this great conversation, and he's like, this does not define who you are, and you should never consider yourself any different just because another person says so. And so it really made a great impact on me in a way, and I always try to be more confident. I always try to work against those like thoughts in my back of my head, where it says, oh, you should just hide yourself and everything, and you shouldn't like give people a reason to stare. And he really showed me what I always try to work, but he reminded me against it, like again, it reminded me of it. And it really showed me like he has such a the way he told it made me feel so much better about myself. And I really thought like he has such a great way of mind or way of thinking, and that really made an impact. And I always try to bring that with me every day. And like, am I truly happy with who I am? And if so, yes, then you should not care what anyone else is thinking. So it really made my day feel better, and he gave me something that I will think about every day. And I will always try to not let other people change my experiences in any way.
Sounds like an amazing coach. I'm glad he's in his position. I have a feeling
Yeah.
that you are paying it forward. The confidence that he's giving you, I think that you are going to play a similar role with many other young people who are joining your community. And so thank you for sharing that. He sounds like a special
Well,
person.
yeah, he's a special person, and he had given me a lot of confidence that I didn't always have, and a lot of great advice. And I probably wouldn't be here today if it weren't for just this one person who like introduced me to this. And that's why one of my inspirations to be that one person for somebody else, maybe, or hopefully one day.
And I think that's sort of why I love this question so much. I never know the answer, but I always get a story that reminds me, and hopefully everyone listening and watching, that empathy is such a powerful,
Mhm.
powerful human trait. It is our superpower. And that when we extend empathy to others, it can have a bigger impact than we can possibly imagine. And so we should all do a little more of it. That's
Yeah,
what I
I
think.
think so as well. I agree so much. I think a little more empathy for everyone would go such a long way.
Yeah, yeah. So with that, I wish you lots of snow in northern Norway when you head home for the holidays. Thank you for your time. We will be thinking about you at the World Championships in 2027 if
Yeah.
there's nothing in between. And thank you for the
And
time.
yeah, and hopefully LA 2028 in the Paralympics. Then
Ooh.
I will come to Los Angeles, hopefully in America.
All right, we're putting our good intentions around you. We're enveloping you in our,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank
Thank you
you.
all for watching and for listening, and we'll see you next week at Purposeful Empathy.
If you know someone who would benefit from this episode, please share it with them now. Post the link to your socials, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. The world needs more empathy, and you have an important role to play.